Hey guys, welcome to Hope It Helps, and my guest on the show today is Miss Laura Choueri. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Khalid. Thank you for having me. This is my first podcast ever.
Yes,
Ever.
first of many, I
Yes.
hope.
In the UAE, I have to say, in the UAE.
That's
Yes.
good. That's
very
good.
interesting.
Thank you for choosing me to be your first
Thank
podcast.
you very much.
I
Thank you
appreciate
very much.
it.
Thanks.
So Laura, me and you obviously connected through our families and whatever, and I heard a lot about you in terms of your experience in the real estate market here, and you have been here for over 30 years, so you probably know a lot about what's going on. You've seen how things have evolved, you've seen the changes, and now with Expo coming up and so on, real estate is now the next hot topic. So I thought bringing someone on the show who is an expert in real estate right now is very relevant to what's going on. So we're going to dive into everything today about your experience, about the real estate market here. What have you learned? What advice would you have to people looking to invest, to buy, and all that good stuff. But before we get into everything, Laura, why don't you give all of us a little bit of background about yourself, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, well, I can make it as long and as short as you want. My name is Laura Choueri. I am the owner of a real estate company in Dubai, Choueri Real Estate, and the founder of a technology platform, which is Realopedia, an e-marketplace to bring together all players in the real estate market, and all, from brokers, developers, realtors, real estate agents, architects, crowdfunding, managers, designers. Anyways, so it's a marketplace for everything related to real estate, but it's in the technology space.
Okay.
So I am Lebanese. I am of Greek, Austrian, Lebanese origin, so Greek Austrian from my mother's side, Lebanese from my father's side, very strong Lebanese background, and born in the U.S. Never lived in the U.S., raised in Lebanon.
Okay.
Moved to Saudi Arabia, then went to the U.S. to university, and then to Montreal. Started my real estate career in Montreal 36 years ago.
Okay.
And worked for one of the most prominent real estate developers in real estate in Montreal in handling their property management portfolio. And after 7 years, I realized that I'm more into, I cannot be confined to an office. I need to be outside. I need to be meeting people. I enjoy the sales aspect of real estate, and that's where I started my real estate career.
Okay.
Fast forward many years working for because I didn't really have those many jobs in my life. I was very stable with where I was. I worked for Royal LePage in Montreal, very well-known real estate brokerage firm, and I was licensed there. And so the formation of real estate, the structure, the laws, the regulation, etc., I learned it from the West, or from Canada.
Sure.
There is very different. You have to putting up your signboards and it's 27 degrees under the weather, and you've got to shovel snow, and you don't hire drivers and have the luxury that Dubai has where you get people to do things for you, or you can employ people to do things for you. It got a little tedious, and certain things happened in Montreal, and I thought I wanted to be back in the Middle East. I want to be close to my origins.
Sure.
And I had a friend of mine that worked with Oracle here, and he was going on a 1-month sabbatical, and a friend of my father's was here, and I thought, let me go to Dubai on a visit. So I came on a visit here 29 years ago, and I never left. And I think that's a story of many.
Many, yeah, for sure.
But after about 4 to 5 months of being here, and I was recruited by a company called Seekers to work for a real estate company locally. And after about 6 months, I thought, no, this is not for me, and I'm heading back to Canada. But then I had a phone number of a very good friend, today a very good friend of mine, but of a lady, and she happened to be the owner of Better Homes. And I called her and I said, listen, I'm just gonna pass my hellos to you on the way out. And I met her and joined Better Homes, and 11 years, I stayed with them for 11 years.
That's awesome.
Until I opened my real estate company.
Yeah.
So that's my real estate life, how I got into it in a nutshell. And then I worked with Better Homes for 11 years. Before I open up my company.
Awesome.
So,
Wow, look at that.
So that's it.
Who would have thought?
In a nutshell.
One phone call and one visit ended up you staying here for 30 years. And I've heard...
Convincing woman. She's very remarkable, very convincing. So I stayed, I stayed. And she's still a very good friend of mine until today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you started real estate in Montreal, worked there for a while before you wanted to move back here and be back in the Middle East.
Yeah.
I guess my question to you is, and what I was thinking is, why real estate? What was
Why
it?
real estate?
What was it about real estate that drew you to it? What is it about the industry that you like and has kept you in it for 30 years?
You know, today they'll tell you that, real estate and the oil business are the two most lucrative businesses in the world, so to
Okay.
speak. Or I don't know if they still are, but I mean, I know real estate is. But I have this innate, built-in something that matches people to property by just, somebody saying hello. And after 3-4 words, I just know exactly what you want before you've even gone into explaining it. It's that sensory thing I had when I was in Montreal,
Okay.
and I excelled at that, and I loved that. And when I moved here, it just continued. It's just something that, and I love houses, and I think I should have been an architect and a lawyer somewhere along the line, because I love those two professions. But I love architecture. I love the design of houses. I love the attention to detail. I go on vacation today. My husband thinks I'm insane because I want to visit every development and every house that's out there, and I want to know the market of where we're visiting. And he's like, but we're on vacation. And I'm like, yes, but it's just, you don't understand. This is what I love.
Yeah.
And I remember once I went to Cyprus and I landed in Larnaca. I think the airport's in Larnaca. And I think I visited every single real estate project from Larnaca to Paphos.
Oh, wow.
I stopped at every project. I went uphill, I went downhill, I went down the road, up the road, and it's just something, I just love architecture. Some people think it's insane, but I love that. And I love the negotiation of a sale. So when I was at Better Homes, I was leading their commercial department, and,
Okay.
and I did the residential, so I thought, okay, fine. But it was commercial that really drove me, and I loved that, and I loved the negotiation and sitting with, there were more men at the time than women in business in Dubai 29 years ago. Very different right now, but I loved the negotiation. I loved to be able to win for the client. It was never about how much commission did you make, because we weren't working. It wasn't a sale market. It was a rental market. So
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
the joy of being able to close that full floor for a client, or be able to, find what that client was looking for, or that perfect whatever. That I just loved that part of it. It just gave me so much joy and pleasure to be able to do that. And at one time they used to, I had a title in Dubai. They used to call me the Queen of Real Estate and Commercial Real Estate, and I never knew that I had that title until 10 years after. I thought, oh wow, that was really cool. But there weren't many people in commercial real estate at the time, and so I guess that was. And I worked on some very interesting projects here. It was always it's just the enjoyment of real estate. And then of course when the sale, when the market shifted to sales, it was a different dynamic completely.
Yeah, of
so
course.
it was very different than the years where it was just a non-freehold market.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting that it's rare to find someone who's just has a passion for real estate and architecture, but also has, I guess, that sales side as well, that negotiation, delivering the value to the client by giving them the property they want, or that dream house, or whatever the case might be. I'm curious, because I'm sure you've done the commercial side, but you've also probably done and from the individual side as well. Is there a difference when a commercial client is looking for example, an office space, or I'm an individual and I'm looking for an apartment or a home? Is there a different dynamic?
It's a very different mindset. It's a very different mindset.
Okay.
When you're looking for a home, you're walking in, you're looking for, if you're the husband, you look and you think, you think of it as, what's the affordability, if he's the breadwinner, right? And what's the affordability? If a woman is, and he doesn't see what she sees. So he walks in and he says, oh, this is a really nice house and the colors are nice, whatever, and she'll like it, and this is within our budget. A woman walks in and she'll say, well, I want to see the bedrooms, and she'll want to see the kitchen, and how big is the kitchen, and is there a garden, does it make sense for her children, and she'll look at the living room. And of course, if she's a Middle Eastern woman, there's the larger family zones that are linked to that, and so on. So it's very different, and then she'll see the position of the house and where are the parks, and does it have a backyard, does it have a gate, where's the swimming pool, where are the amenities, and so there are a lot of questions that come to mind from that perspective, and the schools and this and that, whatever. So men and women think very differently, I think, in that area. So whenever a man would walk in and see the house, I say, well, can we wait until your wife shows up, because I'd really like to see if this is what she wants. Although certain boxes are ticked off, there's still certain things that he will not see that the woman will see.
Sure. Okay.
When you go and you negotiate an office or an investment opportunity, which is which is what I love and it's my passion, the dynamic is different because are you opening up an office or are you looking for an investment? Do you want an office are you renting an office because you want a return on investment? Are you going to use it one day? Does it have the zone that you want to be in? Is it what is the licensing for that zone? Your employees, how do they get to work? So is it near any kind of transportation? We think about that today. We never thought about that before. Today is like, what is the transportation to and from? At the time was more about carpooling and that's how, your staff would get in. Exactly. Yeah. Today it's more about access and there's a lot of that in Dubai. So the dynamic changes, and if it's a law firm, are they international or are they not? I worked with once when I was at Better Homes, we had the American Embassy that was switching, that was coming in to Dubai. Well, they were in Dubai, but they were expanding their premise. And, the amount of what had to go into the move and the security and the entrances and from everything, the entrance of the building to the security to the elevators to the positioning, and it's just you learn so much. Yeah. You just learn so much, and every client is different. If you're dealing with a law firm versus if you're dealing with an engineering company or you're dealing with a trading company, it's just very different. So you learn a lot. You learn a lot about business. You learn a lot about what they're thinking about and how their business works. And then you have a pulse to the city because without businesses, there is no residential.
True.
What drives businesses? What drives residential are the amount of businesses and jobs that are, people the people that are employed for these positions. And then, of course, more businesses you have, more staff you have, more housing you need, and so forth. So you have a pulse on the city, and every new restaurant that's opening up, every new firm that's pretty much coming to town. And, I was working with the best in the industry. To be honest with you, they were the best, Better Homes. And so we had a pulse on everything. We knew what was happening in the city. And so it was very exciting. And when we when we worked on one of the most beautiful projects that we worked on, which was Emirates Towers, at the time, it was a co-agreement between Better Homes and Astico. The amount of the clients that came in and the different, businesses and the mindsets and the people and what you learn. And so it's a school in itself. So gotcha. I went off into a long explanation, but there's just so much to say about commercial real estate, and it's still, commercial investments, etc., is still very much my passion. Although I do sell high-end residential, but that is where my passion, my core lies.
Yeah, I guess. And it sounds like when you're working on the commercial side, you're exposed to so much more because a project, for example, like Emirates Towers. Okay, you have the towers. What kind of businesses are going to go in? What are the fittings they want? There's so each thing is like its own little project. So that's actually really interesting. Yeah. And you made a great point, I think, about if you're a homeowner looking to buy a new home, it's important that you and your partner both go and see it, like you and your wife go see it at the same time, because you're going to look for something different that you think of it in one way, she sees it in a different way. So bring those together. And that's something actually I probably didn't consider. That's actually really interesting.
But what you don't want is when she comes in and she brings in the mother, the sister, the brother, the aunt, the uncle, and then you're like, no, please. That I can't deal with, but
exactly. I was curious on your point about investments. So I was thinking, in your experience, because Dubai is quite a transient place. People are in and out. People typically don't like to come and stay here for a long time. And the apartment market, there's probably more apartments than houses. I could be wrong. If I am, you can correct me. But so in terms of an investment opportunity, if I came to you and like, Laura, I have, $1 million dirhams, let's say. I'm debating between investing in a villa or I'm investing in a apartment. What would you recommend and why?
Well, first of all, I want to go back to what you said about Dubai being transient. That's very interesting that you said that because I don't see that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I don't see that anymore. I think that it's fine. Now, these are my personal feelings, so please,
of course.
No offense to anyone. when you go out and you listen to people, so this might be a little lengthy, but when you go out and you listen to people and they say, oh, but I know I have a lot of people, friends that left, to know I had a lot. Yes, there was, and when COVID hit, a lot of people did leave because they lost their jobs. I don't think a lot of people left because it was their choice to leave. I think they left because they had to. Now, when COVID was so well managed by Dubai, it's incredible. Everybody wants to be in Dubai. I speak to people in the US and they want to be here. And I just recently read, I think it was yesterday or before yesterday, a girlfriend of mine sent me an article, which I actually saw on Forbes yesterday, that billionaires of the world, not all of them, but many of them, are shifting quietly to Dubai for many reasons. Security. And I think that of everything we know about Dubai, the free zones, the no tax or whatever, I think security sits highest on the list, along with how COVID was managed.
Okay.
And so I don't feel that transient. I think the people that I know that are leaving because their jobs are up or they maybe personal reasons. But I feel a lot of people are coming in. Also, the visa and the what is it called, I did a whole blank right now. Your trade license. You can have a trade license with Dubai and work remotely. But the visas that were offered by the ruler, by Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, I mean, this has brought in a huge footfall to Dubai. So I don't feel that transient anymore as much as before. So I feel that people. I was telling my husband, okay, so how many more years do you want to be in Dubai until we leave? He says, well, that's interesting. Leave to go where? And I said, well, let me see. So I've got family in the U.S., I have family in Beirut, I have family in Montreal, and I'm thinking, really, that's true. Where? I mean, I've lived here the longest that I've ever lived. And when you start building your contacts and your networks in your second part of, not in your 20s, but in your 30s and your 40s, and you're in the place where you've built those contacts, this is where you're going to be. You might enjoy being away for 6 months, but Dubai's home to me today. So I am an example of the non-transient that are staying. So the second part of the question that you asked me was the apartments versus the villas. So there are a lot of apartments, a lot of villas. I would say that any good developer that launches villas tomorrow or yesterday or after tomorrow, they will be sold out in a few weeks, because there's so much demand for real estate from an investment perspective, but from an end user perspective, because those that are buying today are buying to live in. Now, I cannot give you exact statistics on that.
Sure.
That'll be another conversation. But if I buy in, let's say, a project of Emaar or Tilal Al Ghaf, I'll think, oh, wow, I'll buy this, but why don't I buy another one as an investment, and rent it out? So that's the apartment versus your villa comment.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the comment about you have 1 million dirhams or dollars, it doesn't matter whether it's $1 or 100 million. It doesn't matter. It comes back to your budget.
Yeah.
So if you tell me I would want to buy an office, I would say to you, well, it's a great time to buy an office if it's in the right location, if you can rent it out, and if you can put it into one of the office structures that are short-term or long-term, but it would depend on the price that you could get that at. If you are buying a residential unit, it would depend on where you're buying the residential unit. So if, let's say, your million or your 100,000 or your dollar will buy you an apartment in, let's just say hypothetically, next to a metro, great location, upcoming location, but on the other hand, that investment in the commercial side would buy you something, but in an area that is remote and
out the way.
But and it's not the up and coming, then of course I would tell you to go for the residential. So it all comes back to location. From that perspective, and of course that's because you want to buy as an investment. If you're coming in because you want to open up an office, then the conversation is completely different.
For sure.
So it depends on what you're looking for. You're looking for a good return, you're looking for a safe investment, and therefore it should be whereby I give you the best advice. And we actually work, we're a very small office, we're a family office, and we work for the client. So we're not, we're here to guide you as to where we believe is the best investment for you, and then we will then go out and get you and search with our contacts and our network what is best for that money and that value.
No, does that make sense? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think you made a good point about I guess I forget sometimes the importance of location when it comes to real estate, whether that's an office, whether that's an apartment.
It's number one.
Yeah, exactly.
In everything.
And I think that is probably a big factor probably the biggest factor of listening to you to consider when looking to do either one of those three. But I had someone on the podcast about a year ago now, and she was a wealth manager, and we were talking about, as you know, with COVID, the real estate market went down big time
In commercial.
Yeah, and so all my friends are telling me that the rents are down, even to buy an apartment is down, everything's down. So people were saying it's a good time to buy since prices are low. And after speaking to her, she said something. She's like, yeah, prices might be low, but if you think long term, what's the, how is it going to appreciate? How is it going to depreciate? Just if you buy it low, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to sell it at a higher thing. If it might even go lower. So the question I have to you is it always a good idea to buy the dip, or are there other factors we have to consider, not just that the price has gone down?
Well, that's a really good question, because when there is a dip, there is always first of all, in real estate, in my opinion, again, there are always opportunities. Depends on how you play the market. But the advice I would give to somebody would be, and then that would contradict what I'm going to say to you, because I think it's a great time to buy now, although the prices are higher. It's a great time to buy commercial real estate, but it's still a great time to buy residential real estate, depending on what you need it for. So if you're buying it to flip it, yeah, that would work as well. So you can really dissect the conversation, but it's always, when the market is down, it is always the best time. That's when you find the REITs coming in, the real estate investment trust. That's when you find funds coming in to pick up and sweep up the market to buy good property. And it's not always easy to find great property in the best location, because there are a lot of people that are working behind the scenes that you don't hear about, and they'll pick up that property like this. So when the market is low, I always tell somebody, if you're an investor, buy.
Okay.
Hold on to the property. Now, when the rents are low, of course, it's not the most opportune time. And with the laws that protect the tenants here, you cannot just say, well, hi, Khalid, you're my tenant. I just bought I don't like your rent. It's too low. Goodbye. I mean, there's a human factor, but from the business side of it, the laws protect the tenant. So I would have to give you ample notice of 2 years in commercial if I'm going to use it myself, or a year in residential if I want to use it myself. Then I can put it in a rental pool, and so on and so forth if it's residential. And if it's commercial, what are you going to do with it? You're going to use it yourself. So I had an office myself in, let's say, in DMCC, and the office was sold at a very good price to the current landlady. I was leaving anyway. She took a complete advantage of the seller, low market and commercial, picked up an amazing unit that was worth she bought it at like $950,000, but it was actually worth about 1.5. But she bought it because the owner wasn't here. He needed the cash. He was out of the country. The market had dipped, and it was a beautiful office, a beautiful tower, and it was advantageous for her because she was going to use it for herself. Now, had she removed me to bring in a higher tenant, I could have, if I wanted to stay, I could have contested that, because she has no right to remove me, but yet she only has the right to raise me a certain percentage. So I would have been a loser. A loser as a client for her from an investment perspective, but if she's looking long term, then I'm an advantage. You understand?
Yeah, I get
because you have to when you buy a property in Europe, you'll say, oh, I'll accept 4% return, or I'll accept 5% return. Well, why is it in Dubai you want 10% and 7%? Because we've been spoiled, and we do get 7% and 6% today in many investments. So you have to understand that even though your return may be low, you have the appreciation factor of the actual investment that you're making, and that counts for something. So if you're going to invest and hold on to your investment long term, then I recommend to make that investment. But if you're buying it to flip it tomorrow in commercial real estate, no, I don't recommend that at all.
Okay.
You need to buy when the market is low and hold on to it. Okay. And the same applies to residential to a certain degree, depending on where you're buying again. But property in good location holds its own so around Burj Khalifa and DIFC and the Palm Island Jumeirah is a perfect example. There's certain areas that hold their own as well. So your entry is going to be, high investments, and anyway, that's another subject.
Yeah. But on the point about location, and if you're buying the right property in the right place, it's a good investment opportunity. Now, as you know, you've been here for 30 years. I've pretty much been here my whole life too. Dubai keeps just expanding and growing. So there's now a lot of new good locations that probably wouldn't have been considered before, like places like something new that I know a lot of people I know started living in is Dubai Hills, which is a great development. Access-wise, it's pretty good too. So the question I have is, you're a good location now could turn into a bad location in the next 5 to 10 years?
You have to look at who the developers are.
Okay.
That is very crucial, but that's international.
Okay.
You look at Dubai Hills, it's an EMAR project.
Yeah.
EMAR is formidable. You cannot go wrong with anything where you put your foot in with EMAR. There isn't one project from the day they launched their very first project. I've been in Dubai to witness it and been part of it. We've sold a lot for them, and they have never had any of they manage a property. They have well structured, they're beautiful locations, you name it. So Dubai Hills so if you look at Dubai Hills as the example, what are the communities of EMAR? You either have the Arabian Ranch community, you have the Meadows and the Emirates Hills community, you have Dubai Hills, and then you have Dubai Creek Harbor. Those are their their four communities, massive communities, and Dubai South, very strategic locations. So you can never go wrong with that. Then you look at what's around that area. So you have Tilal Al Ghaf that opened up with Majid Al Futtaim. Well, they've just sold like hotcakes. Literally. I mean, we couldn't even get stock for clients. That's how fast their product moved.
Wow. That's
a beautiful community. It's a city. It's a massive city. That will never go stale. Then next to that, you have Gulf Estates, and then you have you have Sport City. Each one of these communities, if they are well maintained, and if they have the right amenities that are attached to it, people will enjoy it. And they all have different price points as well.
Yeah.
So if you go to Arabian Ranches, you're going to find it's more expensive than a neighboring community. But the point I'm trying to make is the value of your investment will be there. But it's not just beyond location. Let's look at who is the developer, what is their track record,
exactly, there you go.
What are their service charges, what are their amenities, how is the owners association structured, and so on and so forth. So even though there are all these beautiful communities, I tell people, just breathe, sit back, and if you want to buy, look at where are you buying before you start crying over spilled milk and say, oh, I should have, could have, would have. Look at the developer that you're buying into their project. It is so important.
Yeah, and that's the exact point I was trying to understand is.
And those will retain their value.
Exactly. So that's the extra factor that you need to think about when you're making that kind of investment.
Yeah, I mean, AAA location. You walk in AAA location. There are 3 projects. Well, which one do you buy into? They all fit your budget. They're all beautiful. They all have amenities. Well, which one do you choose?
Exactly.
So you have to do your homework, and you have to work with a person that understands the market, so that you have your community experts, and then you have those that understand the market. They know who's who. It's not just about, you have to know, they say, tell me where you come from for me to tell you who you are. Well, tell me how long you've been here for me to tell you what you know. Because you just don't learn overnight. Yeah, you can learn different developers, but there's a dynamic to the city that comes with years of living here and knowing the pulse of the city, and that's so important.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's a really good point to keep in mind. And on the point that you were talking about, for example, the I don't know what's the Majid Futtaim one that you just mentioned.
Tilal Al Ghaf, yeah.
So in Dubai, or at least in Dubai in particular, there's always been this, I think, and at least from my perspective, but I'm not in the market, so this is just my thoughts. There's always there's oversupply, but there's also a ridiculous amount of demand as well. And because there's so much of both, you have a lot of options, but based on our conversation that we've just had, the good options become limited because they keep getting snapped up quickly.
Absolutely.
So now let's say I'm looking to buy a home to live in for myself. What advice would you have for me now as a homeowner when I'm dealing with like the brokers? Because I know I've spoken to many of my friends Me and you had a conversation the other day, so I know how the brokers are, because like, oh, I don't need you, I'll just bring, in 2 seconds I can find another potential, buyer for this. So what advice would you have to someone looking to either buy an apartment or a villa, but when dealing with the brokers, how do we have to manage that relationship?
Are you talking as a broker to broker, or are you talking about a client to a broker?
A client like me going to a broker.
So are you on a phone call, or are you looking, so are you on a phone call, is it your first time buying, or is it just a conversation?
Let's do with first time buying, and it's the first time, and I've decided to work with you. I think you're good, but I know that, I'm aware of how brokers work. So how do I protect myself and ensure that I'm not going to get screwed over, for example?
That's a really good way. That's okay. So let's say you came to me.
Yeah.
Example, you're calling me.
Sure.
Let me tell you what I would do,
Okay.
right? So, if you called me and you said, "Hi, my name is, Khalid Abdul-Jubain, and, I want to invest $1 million and I want to go to this part of town, what do you have to show me?" "Oh, I have this and that." Well, that's not how I work. I want to meet you. I want to sit with you. I want to understand you. I want to know why you want to buy. What is your reason for buying? Is your money ready? Is it not? Do you want finance? Don't you want finance? Have you sat with a mortgage broker? Do you know what the costs are? Do you know what it entails? Because if you're looking to go around the city, I can recommend you to a tourism company, and they can take you all over the city and show you whatever it is that you want. But if you want to work with, and then you need to know about me.
Yeah.
You need to know what I know. You need to know who I am. You need to know, am I licensed? You have the right to ask me to see a copy of my licensed card, my
really?
RERA card.
Oh.
Of course.
Oh, okay.
You want to know that the card that states that I am a broker with Choueri Real Estate is actually valid under the company that is showing you the property. So I'm not a fly-by-night agent. I am not going to ask you to make deposits and give you false receipts. You're not working with a company that's an entertainment, no disrespect to entertainment company, but it's happened before where, agents were taken to companies, checks were made, and it was not even the company of the broker, and people run away with money, and that's history. But today, there are rules and regulations in place with the authorities, but not necessarily you as a buyer would know them.
Exactly.
But your right is to know. You as I want to know about you, you should interview me and to know what can I offer you, why should you work with me, and then you make your decision.
Yeah.
If you're coming recommended through, we actually work a lot on referrals, so we don't really have these conversations because those that come to us are coming through the network that we've built over the last 29 years in Dubai, and even globally. So those that come to us already know who we are, and etc. They'll come to us through our law firm alliances or financial institutions or whatever. But I still want them to know who I am. So even though they've heard about me, they need to hear it from me. So lesson to everybody that's out there, that when you're working with a broker, if they're just going to take you out and show you 3-4 properties immediately, that's to me called trying to make a fast sale. Okay. And I don't like that. I know that brokers want to make money, and their money is based on commission. But I think if you're going to build a relationship with the client, and every client is a lead, and every lead is a relationship, and every relationship has to be nurtured, and it has to start somewhere. And that somewhere starts from sitting down, buying you a cup of coffee, and saying, "Why don't we have a cup of coffee, Khalid, at Paul's Mercato or wherever you want, what's convenient. Your office, today it's offices, hotel lobbies, whatever. Choose a place. Let's have a cup of coffee. Let's get to know each other." But if you've never met me and all of a sudden I'm showing you 3 properties, I don't really know what's going to go through your mind about me. You're going to think, is this normal? But when I come and I give you that approach, you're going to think, wow, this is really professional.
Okay.
They're taking their time. She, he, her, whatever, are taking their time to get to know me, or I'm inviting you, to my office, or I'm inviting you to whatever, to have this first meet. And then I better understand, what are your requirements and why. Because you could have, the what I find the most is that people will say, well, I was having a drink with my friend last night, or I was at a dinner with my friend, or I was at the beach with my friend, and they told me I should buy there. And I'm like, well, they should buy there based on why. Their there is not your why. Just because they did it doesn't mean you should do it. Just
Gotcha.
because they did something doesn't mean, and maybe you're not sharing your budgets with your friend because you don't want them to know what your personal finances are. Maybe it's less or more. It doesn't matter. But, you know, everybody has their own reason for investing and everybody has their own budget. So when people go say, yeah, but my friend said to me, I shouldn't buy there. I'm like, really? They said that? Well, then ask them for advice. Don't come and ask me for advice. 'Cause that's where that starts aggravating me. You know, when they're going to ask somebody who's not in the industry, who's either negative about the industry or they want to give you bad advice, or they don't know what they're talking about, or they've received bad advice, they're passing it on to you. Ask the experts. It's like, you know, they say, you know, I'm not the baker. I'm a baker in my industry. I'm not a baker in your industry. So stick to what you know, unless it's coming from somebody who is a seasoned investor, then I'll respect that opinion. But if it's somebody that says, I just, because I know what? You know what I mean? So,
Okay. That's actually really, really good advice, I think, on the point. Number one, I didn't know you can ask to see someone's...
of course you can.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I can show you my ID if you want. Do I have it on me? I have it on me.
So not only that, but also because eventually I will be a buyer in the future.
I know who your mother will recommend you to go to.
Yeah, I'm sure she will.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So I didn't know about like the mindset as a buyer going into it. What are the things I should be looking for? What are the kind of questions I should be asking? How can I gauge whether this person is serious? Is this person credible? Do they have a good track record? And so on. So I think for anyone looking to get a house, get an apartment, these are some great things, really good questions to keep in mind. And I wanted to move on from that into another question that I have, which is the whole rent versus buy debate now.
Oh, okay.
So in the past, I used to, like, my mindset was always buying is the best, because even if I have a mortgage, I'm paying for my house, and if I want to, I can also rent it out. I can leave, whatever the case might be. And then I watched this guy. His name is Grant Cardone.
I know Grant.
Yeah, you know Grant Cardone. So I don't know if you've heard him talk about. You have.
Yeah.
So what he said was interesting, because it's not what you typically hear. And I was like, so his idea was he never recommends people to buy. He always recommends you to rent, in terms of, because of the liability that you have is a lot less as a renter. You just have to pay your rent. But if you're the owner, you have mortgage, you have, maybe if you're someone else in the world, you have taxes, you have all these other things to keep in mind when buying a property. And is that going to appreciate? Is that going to devalue? So a rent is very simple. Each month I pay X to this, and I can live in this place. So now, you've been in the industry here.
So Grant Cardone must have a very large portfolio where he wants to rent to say that.
He does.
Okay.
He does.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, and I guess what you've seen in your experience and in the industry and so on, what would you advise to people? If I have the money, obviously, to buy, do you think
what would I advise?
Rent, buy? What would you
So that's a loaded question. Okay, and there is that really is a loaded question. I'll tell you why it's a loaded question, because it comes back to, why are you buying, Khaled? Are you buying because you want to live in it? Are you buying because you want to rent it? Are you buying to flip it? Are you buying it to start building your real estate portfolio? What are your reasons for buying? And each one has a different answer.
For sure.
If you're buying to live in it, then we're going to look at your budget. Well, we're always going to look at your budget, but we're going to look at the location that is best suitable to your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Remember, to me, real estate is a lifestyle. It's not just, I'll just buy that apartment because it's my, it's a lifestyle. You know, what is a lifestyle you want? You know, do you want to be in the, you want to be around restaurants and upcoming areas and shopping, whatever. You go to the downtown Burj Khalifa area. You know, do you want to be on the beach and have that Floridian lifestyle, whatever? You go to Palm Island. Do you want to, so you have, what is the lifestyle that you're looking for? Do you want equestrian, etc.? You go there. So we find, or the investment would be in the area that suits your budget because you're living in it.
Yes.
We also want to make sure that if you're buying it to live in it, what is the expected time frame? So are you living in it for 3 years and then you're going to move to the US or move to Canada, move to Europe? What is the time frame there? Are you buying it long term? Well, that's great because you have that appreciation factor, but then you also have the ability to, you can either resell it in a few years when you leave, or you can put it in your real estate portfolio that you can start to build. So although Cardone says that, yes, you have to have a proper manager for your unit. You have to make sure that your charges are paid on time, and so on and so forth. But if you rent, you have to make sure that you pay your electricity. You have to make sure you lock your front door. You have to make sure that you take care of your garden if it's a villa, whatever. So you rent. And it's an age thing. Today, I don't want to have houses all over the world. I want to Airbnb wherever I go and close the door and leave, and I don't have any responsibility.
Sure.
There I agree with him when I'm traveling. But if I know that I want to live in Greece, or I want to live in Canada, or I want to live in the US, and that's my ultimate end, or I want to live in Dubai, then I want to own that property.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that that property that I own, depending on my age now, am I building a real estate portfolio and I'm in my 20s or 30s? You can build your real estate portfolio at any time.
Yeah.
When you're younger, you just when you're in your 60s, your vision is very different than when you're in your 30s and in your 40s.
100%.
So if you're building your real estate portfolio, then you want to be able to buy that property that you can rent down the line, or you can sell, or you can build your portfolio. And then you have to remember that the dynamics of North America are different than the dynamics here.
100%.
So if you want to have that eternal security, then I always believe buy real estate, rent it, and then you've got all this beautiful, you've got this real estate being managed. You've built a beautiful portfolio of real estate, and that's your retirement plan.
Yeah.
That's unless you're sitting on millions and zillions.
Yeah.
So it depends on what your mindset is. So
yeah.
I agree with him. When it's my real estate portfolio, then I want to make sure I have the renters, and yes, that is the correct approach, of course. But if I'm building a real estate portfolio, that's completely different.
Of course.
It depends on where you're coming from. What is your ultimate reason? So if you, for instance, and I know you're getting married,
yes.
I know you got engaged, so congratulations.
Thank you.
I know that eventually you'll probably ask yourself, well, where do I want to live? And I would give you the same advice. Well, Khalid, what do you want? Are you planning on moving to the US one day? Are you planning on leaving Dubai? Do you want to go to London? Whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you want to go live in Lebanon? Do you want to go live, or do you want to stay in Dubai? What is your budget? Let's look at that area that best suits you, and then let's also make sure that for your long-term plan, that's going to be a property that appreciates. That's going to be a property that you can rent out if you need to. That's something that you can build into your real estate portfolio if that's what your choices are. You make, but let the we can never determine what's going to happen when nobody saw COVID coming. But if you are well structured, then the end result is going to be pretty cool. You know?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think you made a really good point about a couple of things. First of all, your mindset about your why kind of behind.
Everything's about your why, isn't it?
100%. Yeah, 100%. About, are you trying to live in this? You want to flip this? Is it a long term? Is it short term? All those kind of things are really great questions to think about before making a move like that. But also the difference between if you're planning to, settle down somewhere, then personally you'd want to own it because now it's an asset as well that you can potentially use.
Yep.
Okay, traveling is a different state. It's short term, so you don't mind renting, and it's not a problem. And as you know, and you brought up COVID, like you said, we don't know we can never plan.
We never saw it coming.
We never saw it coming. We never planned what's going to happen. But I know real estate before COVID, then there was during COVID, and it's where we are now. So before COVID, I don't know what it was. I don't know what the state of the market was. I have no idea. You would know. I know during COVID, the market took a big hit because everyone got hit. And now there's Expo, and everything's back on the rise. So my question to you is, why do you think that Expo now is having such a big push on the real estate market?
By the way, before Expo, let's go back to COVID.
Okay.
I will tell you that the land department figures, if I'm not mistaken, there was a report by Zawiya where the rates went up 136% from August of this year versus August of last year.
So from 2020
from 2021, I have the article somewhere on my phone, from 2021, if I'm mistaken, sorry guys, but I believe so. And Q4 of last year, the numbers have risen in sales than the year before. So COVID actually drove a lot of sales, believe it or not, because people
Okay.
were moving from apartments to, we can have another session on statistics, and I'll pull the statistics out, but the numbers in COVID rose. The market, I'll tell you that, take Palm Island as an example.
Yeah.
Before COVID, and of course, my clients that didn't listen to me are looking at me today and saying, "Why didn't you put a gun to my head?" Like, well, guns are not allowed in the UAE,
absolutely.
but had I had one, I would have used it. The villas that were 9 million before COVID hit 17 million, and let's say 15 million to stay on the safe side,
Yeah.
and 17 million depending on where on the Palm it is.
Yeah.
And the highest transactions took place on Palm Island. And
Really?
I tell you that when they're looking at property saying, "But try and buy me a villa of 9 million." I'm like, I'm leaving Dubai. I'm going to go get a gun permit in the States and shoot you somewhere over there, because I told you to pick up 15, 20 villas and build a port. And of course they thought, yeah, right, there's going to be another crash. Well, I got to tell you something. The experts could be right, and who am I at the end of the day? But I can tell you that I do not see, people say, "Oh yeah, it's a bubble." No, it's not a bubble. The movement of the city today are people that are buying to live in them. And I attend enough events and I speak with enough people to see the movement of the city, and I know from those I've sold to, those I've spoken to, those have bought properties that it's not within my zone, but prices have gone up there.
Yeah.
I can tell you that people used to say, "Oh, the developers' prices are very high. I'm going to go into the resale market." Well, surprise, surprise. The resale market prices are no longer lower than the developers' prices, and they're still selling. So prices have gone up from COVID.
Yeah.
Because you live in a one-bedroom apartment and you live in a two-bedroom apartment and you have children, you want a garden. You know that that lockdown feeling that you had, that claustrophobia, and having children at home, you need a garden. And I have a lot of friends that have moved, their friends and their friends' friends and so on and so forth, that have moved into larger places. You have a one bedroom, you want a two. You have a two, you want a three.
Yeah.
You have a three, you want a villa. You want a villa, you want a larger garden. And that's what's happened. So the expo is the icing on the cake. But we're experiencing the cake. And for anybody that says otherwise, I'm sorry. This is the market is in a boom. And it's going to keep on because the rulers of this country are so hands-on in how they've moved this country forward with everything that they're offering. The visas, the long-term visas are being offered to the young, kids that graduated that you would think they would leave the house and they would leave the country and whatever. They've graduated, they'll come back to Dubai. They've either worked with their parents' businesses or and I can tell you all of my friends whose kids have graduated, they're all back in Dubai. And you would think they have the opportunity to go to the States and Canada, etc. And yes, the U.S. is a land of opportunity, and yes, Canada is great to go to and whatever, but Dubai is unique, and everybody is feeling it. What Expo has done is just added that whole,
like fuel to the fire, kind of.
There's a vibe in the city. It's just somebody said to me, "Well, when are you going to Expo?" I said, "Well, Friday." I said, "What? You're going to Expo Friday?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to Expo Friday. I want to be part of all this." But yeah, there is a lot of movement in the country, and it's not just houses, it's investments, land, just investment opportunities across the board. There's just a huge demand.
Yeah, and actually that's very interesting that I had no idea that from last August to now that
They've gone up.
They've gone up, and that actually surprises me based on just what I was hearing from people around me in terms of rents and so on. But I'm guessing.
Do you want me to read you something?
Huh?
Do
Sure.
you want me to read you something?
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find it, because we just put something on one of our websites. So Q4 2020 was the strongest quarter in 2020 and helped the year recover in the most terms of volume and value, with 11,065 sales, 11,000 whatever sale worth 22.07 billion dirhams.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
April and May 2020 were the lowest months historically for the secondary sales because of the lockdown in Dubai. But since the restrictions eased, the secondary residential real estate sales have been on a rise. That's only part of the statistics. But, full year of 2020 had a total of 35,000 transactions. worth 72.49 billion dirhams. So
Wow.
when people say, oh, but COVID was a dead year, well, no, it wasn't. So,
Yeah.
so this, I pulled this out because I thought you might ask me about that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was actually reading it for something else that I'm doing. But yes, the sales are on the rise, and it's a fantastic market for real estate, for companies that have their agents on the ground, their experienced agents, their community agents, etc. This is a fantastic time for them.
Yeah, and how would you? Because I know you mentioned a good point earlier about how Dubai is unique, and you have experience working, in Montreal in the real estate side, and when you go around the world, you're always looking, looking at properties and going. So you have a pretty good, I guess, idea of how different markets work in different parts of the world. So what is it about the UAE and Dubai market, that the real estate market in particular, that is unique when you compare it to other parts of the world, for example, like Europe or like North America?
I think that as a market, look, it's every country has its real estate, the real estate sector, and
Yeah.
it's unique to that country. And you look at real estate in the U.S. and Europe and etc. And their architecture in Switzerland, etc. But when I say unique, I'm talking about Dubai.
Yeah.
Dubai, the United Arab Emirates,
Yeah.
actually, and what's driving the investors here, what's creating that buzz, is what's being offered as a country to those that are coming. So it's not just one segment. Real estate is a sector that I am in.
Yeah.
But when you look at all facets of why people are coming, I mean, we just had one of our investors that moved here from Europe. Why? Taxation. He has kids, security. He knows that his children are not going to be shot down in a mall. That is the biggest that is the biggest factor in this country, is the security that you feel. Sorry, but I'm an American citizen, but I don't feel safe in the U.S. I don't not feel safe knowing that my sister walks around with a gun in her purse because they're protecting their lives just in case. Really? And we're living in the Middle East, and they think that we are the ones that are, they're advanced and we're whatever, and they're walking around with gun permits. So security. And I think that when you look at that segment of the market, I think that's what drives everything else.
Gotcha.
And security, no taxation, legislation, rules and regulations, the legal bodies that have been formed. The list is so long. The visas now that are being offered, the country itself. I think today is the first day of Dubai Fitness Challenge, actually.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day.
I think today, it started today, if I'm not mistaken. There's just so much that's happening in Dubai from when I came to Dubai so many years ago till today. I mean, Dubai stopped at the second interchange on Shanghai Road. And you look at this and what Dubai has. Did you look at the new commercial of Jessica Alba and Zac Efron from the tourism board?
No.
Wow, you have to watch that.
Okay.
And that is 4 amazing commercials.
Okay, no,
Pretty
I
cool.
haven't seen it.
Very interesting.
But I think you
Very
made
interesting.
a really good point about the factors that it's not necessarily just about the real estate market and industry and what it has to offer, but what the country as a whole has to offer for people coming abroad, like things like security. As you know, everyone will tell you this is probably one of the safest places in the world to live.
How about the safest?
Yeah, if not the safest. So obviously and like you said, for the example you used, you're an investor from Europe coming and you have kids and stuff, you want them to grow up in a safe place and all that. And also no taxes. I lived in Amsterdam for 3 years, and getting taxed 40% on your salary and then 50% on your commission sucks. So that's also
even if you're a resident of Dubai, you're still that's still imposed on you.
Well, I was living there.
Oh, you were living there, so you're still okay. So
I'm
okay.
I gotta play by the rules.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wish I did. But those are some really, really good points. And as you mentioned, Dubai has changed so much over the last 30 years, and you've been in the real estate market for so long, and in that time, so you've probably seen so many changes and evolutions along the way. So from your perspective, if you're comparing when I know it's a very hard comparison to make, but from when you first came in the 90s and to where we are today, how has the industry evolved, and what are the biggest takeaways that you've had during that experience?
Well, the industry has evolved. I mean, when we came, when I first came to Dubai, there wasn't you worked in real estate based on your ethics. The structure we have today the formation of the real estate regulatory agency, that was not there. I remember the Dubai Real Estate Group was formed by the seven main companies then, of which Better Homes was part of them, and they had started to put together the rules and regulations and how the structure should be, and then it moved and evolved into and was taken over, if I'm not mistaken, by RERA, and that's how RERA, the real estate body in Dubai, was born. But before that, it was, you worked on your ethics. And don't forget, I come from a very, very strong ethical background. And some people hate me for it, some people like me for it, and that's just the way it is. But working in Canada gives you, it doesn't mean that those that worked here before were not ethical, but I'm talking about myself now.
Yeah.
So I already knew the do's and the don'ts in real estate, and the rest is your personality, right? So I already had my own structure, and then I worked for a company that was very ethical, Better Homes. So my real estate just grew, and my knowledge of the city grew, and I learned a lot from them during the 11 years that I was there, right? So when you look at where we were and where we are, it's like two different countries completely. Today you have a huge system there. You have, all of the rules and regulations are in place, not just for brokers. They're very strict laws for brokers, but also for developers and for the construction industry, and for the escrow accounts that hold people's money, for disbursements of funds, for registering a property, for the online apps that are being used to register your property sale, for transparency of work that you do. Now, is it transparent where you can go? I mean, I know in Canada, in Montreal, if I was selling your property, I can go to the registry office of that city, town, or suburb and put in the address, and the name of the person comes up.
Yeah.
We don't have that here, but we have it through the government system. So the government imposes, and that's another thing that you should know, that anytime you buy property in Dubai, that the form that you sign with the purchase that you're being made has to be a generated form that comes through the land department. And if it doesn't come through the land department and it's done manually, you should only buy if you receive the form through the system that has your details as the buyer, because that's been on the form with the data that's been inputted by your representing real estate broker, and then the seller receives the same contract, very transparent, where you both sign that. If that does not happen, and it happens manually, then you cannot be protected by law. Now,
Okay.
and that is an imposition, and I believe that the brokerage firm will be imposed a $50,000 penalty fee if they do it any other way. The reason why I'm saying this is because look where we are and look where we were.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if the buyer does not, if the buyers and the sellers, or it's the brokers, it's the broker's responsibility to inform the buyers and sellers of these transactional details. But coming back to what you're saying, this was not there when I first came to Dubai. So you say, how has the city evolved? Well, I remember when we were marketing the green community near where Expo is today, as Better Homes, right? And the second interchange is where that's where Dubai stopped, right? And so we were thinking, my God, how are we going to, how do we get clients out there? So we would drive there, and it would turn into, we'd have to, we'd go there as a day. So we started telling people, just come and, it became like a picnic, where they're coming for the day, they're bringing their kids, they're walking around the lakes, because it was so far out of Dubai. There wasn't a train to take you there. You couldn't even take a bus there. There wasn't a bus to take you there. So it was either a carpool or you drove. So look at where is Dubai from that second interchange onwards? I mean, it's in 40 years? How many years are we now? What's the formation? 40 years?
A bit more.
Or 50?
Maybe
50. God, please forgive me. but look at this country. It's just and you've got to keep up, and sometimes you just can't keep up, right?
That's
You
true.
just can't keep
That's
up.
true.
It's just there's so much going on all the time.
Yeah, but it sounds like when we're listening to you, I love the way you said it, that it's literally like you're in it's the same place, but you're in two different countries. Like if when you compare it to like the 90s now, now, especially I think also after 2008, there's like the right infrastructures in place, the right regulations are in place, the right safeguards are there, both for tenants and for clients and for brokers and so on. And
and choices and communities.
Exactly.
And, I remember we used to say, where are we having, well, we never said, where are we having coffee? We just used to go to Gerard's on the beach road. God rest his soul. We used to go to Gerard's on the beach roads. It wasn't like, where do you want to go? That was the place to go, right? Well, today you just have so much choice. It's like there are a zillion coffee shops and restaurants, and there's something for everyone. And when people tell me that, oh, Dubai, and Dubai is expensive. Well, you know what? You live within the budget that you choose where you want to live according to your budget. But there's something for everyone there, and there are a lot of things that are free that you can enjoy. You don't necessarily have to pay for. So there's just so much more today than there was then.
Yeah. Yeah. And
you should know. You were born here. I mean, look at the changes in your lifetime.
I remember.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's crazy where we started and like where it is now.
Yeah.
It's surreal to think back to the old days, and I remember when we first moved here, I was like 5 or 6. And I never forget just driving down, and all I saw was like desert, and then we ended up at our first villa that we had here, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is home.
Yeah.
But I didn't know any better at the time. But to see from where it was to where it is now, it's insane.
Yeah.
Laura, I just have 3 more questions for you.
Sure.
So first of all, I wanted to ask, because you're in the industry, what have you seen? What are the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to either buying a property or investing? Or what are the common issues that you hear often, like about, I guess, real estate in Dubai?
They don't educate themselves.
You're
talking about the buyers, like as a buyer?
Yeah, as a buyer or as an investor as well.
The mistakes that they make?
Yeah. What are the common things that you've seen?
I would say listen to, first of all, do your homework.
Okay.
Ask for experts. Do your homework. Understand why you're investing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't listen to your friends. Find the right advisor. Ask about them to guide you in your investments.
Okay.
Go to the experts. Don't listen to your friends. Don't listen to your family. Only listen to your family if they have a proven track record.
Okay.
And if you're a buyer, educate yourself. You know the rules and regulations. If you were to buy, if I went to a country that I didn't know, the rules and regulations the way I do Dubai, well, I want to know what the rules and regulations are, don't I? Would I just go to the very first person that shows me a property and says, okay, this is the property, you like it, let's put a deposit, let's go write a contract, give me the money, make a check. Really? Just like that? No. I want to know who they are. I want to know the rules of the country. I want to check with the Dubai Chamber of that country. I want to know what the rules are for buying property in that country. I want to know what my liabilities are. I want to know if there's taxation. I want to know who the reputable companies are. I want to ask for recommendation. Educate. Don't just go on a yalla. Let's just go. We're not going to buy a kilo of apples. You're going to buy the most important investment of your life, or another one of. You know.
Yeah.
So educate yourself. Understand the community. Understand why you're buying. Speak to the experts. There are a lot of good people that are out there. We're one of them, but our zone is not. We're not a mass. We went from the 40 agents when we opened the door in 2005. Today we're a very small office, and we actually work for our clients that we've worked with over the years, and clients that are recommended to us.
Yeah.
So we're in the zone of, and then we go and speak to the agents that we. Instead of engaging agents, we talk to the agents that are in the zones of where we want to find the property for that client.
Yeah.
But you come to me as a referral. But what about if you don't know me? How do you find a Laura, this, that? There's some fantastic people on Instagram that have some very good agents, very good ethics, etc. So educate yourself no matter where you are. Understand the laws of the country. And don't listen to your friend at a dinner party that's just had a glass of wine or two, or if you're on the beach playing basketball or wherever you may be, and he says, hey, bro, I think you should buy him whatever. Don't listen to that person. Well, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
You need to be well guided.
Well guided. I think that's some great advice about educating yourself and finding the right person, and who's credible enough, who has the contacts, who knows, I think, coming back to what you said, who knows Dubai well, and how the city has moved and where it's probably going, to help you make a better informed decision. Like you said, buying a house is not it's not a one-off thing. It's a big investment,
Yeah.
and it's something that should be taken
And it could be
seriously.
the most important investment in your life.
Exactly, because that could also be, that could take you to
Your next level.
Your next level,
Yeah.
exactly, in a couple of years. And Laura, for my last two questions, you've heard the podcast, so you know what's coming. I wish you hadn't, because I like to catch my guests off
But I
guard.
didn't. But I haven't thought about
Okay,
it.
that's
So
good.
I
That's
actually
good.
forgot your question. So
Okay,
yeah.
that's good. So first of all, looking back, either personally or whether it's your career or so on, what are you most proud of for yourself?
I am very proud of myself for taking the chance, getting on a plane, coming to a country where I really didn't know anybody, and building myself, my credibility and my respectability and my knowledge. I've built. I've worked for the best company in Dubai when I came here, and I love them and I have huge respect for them till today. I then went on to open my own real estate company, so that was a huge achievement. I have been through, two booms and one downfall, maybe two. I founded a technology platform, and I've done all this while I was in Dubai. And yes, I have, wonderful parents, and I had a great mentor here when I came that I wound up working for 11 years, guided me very well. And but I'm very proud of myself because I've made it, and I did that, and I didn't do it because I did it on my own.
Yeah.
I did it, me, Laura.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
So I have huge respect for myself, and that has really built my character. That has made me a stronger person, and that has showed me that you never know what you're capable of until you face the unknown on your own.
Yeah.
Really.
True.
Right?
That's very true.
So
Yeah.
so I'm very proud of myself.
Yeah, as you should, and as you should be. And I think when you looking back from where you started and to get on that plane, and here you are now, 30 years later, and to have built what you built and to work for the companies you've worked at, I think just on a personal level, I would feel the same way. It's hugely gratifying.
It is very much so.
Yeah,
Very
that
much so.
I did that, and here we are today.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And for my last question, Laura, that I ask all my guests, what is the message you'd like everyone to take home with them today?
I would actually say, I want to tell you a little story about that.
Okay.
I would actually say, if you want to do something, just do it. If you just have the guts and just do it, right?
Okay.
Don't be afraid. If somebody tells you no, just don't listen to them. Just do it. I'll tell you I'll end with a little story. I have a beautiful picture in my office. With me and Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Maktoum, and the story goes as follows. So I was at an exhibition, and I've always had this dream of meeting Sheikh Mohammed, always, since I thought, he's like my ideal. I have all his books, and I read them, and I wish we could take him and place him and replicate him for Lebanon. But so here I'm at this exhibition at Cityscape, and here comes Sheikh Mohammed. I'm like, oh my God, my heart starts to palpitate. And this is and I think, oh my God, I have to meet him. And then all of the locals, the nationals that are behind him is the security. And I recognize two of them. I'm like, I want to talk to him. And they're like, you can't do that. And I'm like, I have to, I just have to do this. And they're like, no, you can't. And somebody put their hand out and whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, okay, wait. And I was like, I don't even know where I got the guts to do this. I don't know if I still do it today. But so he walked this way and he went that way. And I thought, okay, wait a minute. Emar's there and Nakhil stand is there. So I decided to do a bee dive and I went all the way to Nakhil's stand. So when he came to the stand, I was there.
Yeah.
And I went, Sheikh Mohammed. And he looked at me and I said, I want to talk to you, but they won't let me. And he goes, who's they? Just like that. I'm like, them. He goes, la 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 la. And I swear to God. And there's still a video with the World Trade Center that I wish I can get my hands on. But George Maurice, who has a real estate school and he was a COO of our company. He had a camera in his hand. I was like, take a picture. And I stood there and he put his arm around me and two other people jumped in the picture and we took a picture. And I looked at those guys, I was like, you see? So if I have to say anything to anyone, I don't know if I would do that today. But if you really have this burning desire to do something, I'm still, at times I put his book in my bag and I think, but today I have more wasta, so I can actually send the book to someone to
Sure.
But if you really have this burning something that you really want to do, at that moment, and if somebody tells you no, why no? You know, it can't be done. By who? By who said it can't be done? You know, if you want to do it, just do it.
Yeah.
Just face it and do it. And if you get a no, at least you know that you tried, right?
There you go.
But if you don't try, you'll never know. So
100.
I've got that picture. And there we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's an awesome story, and I think it perfectly rounds up what you were trying to say. And I think a lot of people, especially now with COVID and everything, I think a lot of people have had the time to like sit back and think
reflect.
about, what do I like? What's that? Like you said, that burning desire that you want to do, and to take that leap. And if you do, and just try.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's gonna work. Doesn't mean it's not. But at least you don't
try,
have
right?
you don't have any regrets, and that's something that I resonate with a lot.
Yeah.
Laura, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been so much fun.
Thank
I
you,
literally
Khaled.
knew zero about real estate before this, so at least now I've learned a lot.
Yeah, but Khaled, I haven't said anything about real estate. That's just a tip of that. That's just a little bit of foundation. It's an incredible industry, and I'd love to come back one day and talk to you about statistics and show you what's happening in Dubai. So,
I'm sure we will have another one in the fucher. Laura, if for anyone who wants to connect with you or work with you, where can they find you? How do they get in touch?
Oh, well, my website, Choueri, Choueri, not Eiri, ERI-UAE.com, and my mobile is out there, 050, whatever. You can find me on my website. And so definitely give me a call if you need advice on where to invest. So just to let you know and let the viewers know that when you go to our website, you'll understand more of what we do, because we're not a mass agency. We're very, we work very much, as I said, for the buyers. So it's very important for us to have a relationship with our potential investors. So there you go, Choueri-UAE.com.
You guys heard it here first. If anyone's looking for real estate advice or looking to invest or buy, Laura's been here and has literally all the answers probably that you're looking for. Guys, to everyone, please follow the podcast and subscribe on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. You know where it is, at hope.it.helps. And as always, hope it helps.
Thank you. Take care.